Hey there, my name's Paul, and this is Out of Neutral, a weekly tune-up where we look to the Bible to get in gear and follow Jesus into the life he came to make possible. Today I want to talk about how to rest when your work is wearing you out. Work is hard, but sometimes the pace can be exhausting. There were always demands, but now that we're connected with email, text, and even productivity monitoring software, people can feel more like machines than humans, and it's hard to turn off. Even when we're not physically working, it's hard to convince our minds that it's okay to rest. The Bible's approach to rest is unique, and it offers specific strategies to help us unwind in a world that keeps tightening its grip. Let's look at 3 of them. The first is this: take time for relationship, not just for naps. The Bible says more about rest than perhaps any other religion. In fact, its opening volumes were written to former slaves who had little experience with rest or days off. Rather than starting with some tips to clear your mind and get more balance in your schedule, the Bible begins by describing one of God's work weeks and the astounding fact that he set aside the last day of the week to rest. That seems strange because other verses tell us that God never gets tired nor dozes off to sleep. Clearly, God wasn't resting because he needed a nap. He was showing that there was more to life than work, and he invited us to experience it with him. He didn't do that with the plants or the other animals he created. Only humans were called to rest from their work and given the privilege of spending time with God in relationship. Rest begins when we realize that we're created by a God who's not just interested in what we do, he's interested in us. We rest when we respond to his invitation and take time in his presence to be in relationship with him. We hear the voice that says, "Be still and know that I am God." The second, take time for the blessing of sacred rest. God wanted us to know there's something special about taking time to rest. In Genesis 2:3, it says, "God blessed the 7th day and made it holy, because on it God rested from all his work that he had done in creation." The day of rest is the only one God blesses, and the only thing in the entire book of Genesis that God calls holy. It's teaching us that life isn't ultimately about what we accomplish, even though our work is ordered by God and supremely important to him. When we rest in God's presence, we're reminded that our lives are more than our jobs. We're reminded that we'll eventually end our careers, but our relationship with God will remain. In fact, heaven is described as an eternal rest in Hebrews 4:9 when it says, "There remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God." When we don't take time to rest in God's presence, we begin to act like machines, and the heart of what makes us human and the hope of eternity both fade in our minds. Third, take time to let down your burdens. While the Old Testament highlights the importance of sacred rest, Jesus spells out in more detail how it works. He famously said, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Jesus promises to give us rest when we come to him. Specifically, we're invited to learn from him and follow in his ways. When we do that, Jesus gives us a rest that we can't experience from anything else. It's more restful than exercise, yoga, meditation, or an afternoon at the spa. That's because something changes when we learn from Jesus and exchange our burdens for his. And that change lasts long after our rest is over. When we come to Jesus, we meet someone who cares about our cares. We're reminded about the one who's in control, and it's not us. We grow in our understanding of what he's doing in this world and how he works in our lives. And by following him, we find ourselves working with his plan and his power instead of against it. This energizes our lives and feeds us with rest. Make time for sacred rest with God. In prayer and reflection on the scriptures, remind yourself of who he is and who you are in his sight. Remind yourself that life is more than just work and play. We're created to know God, and there's a special blessing in taking time to enjoy that relationship with him. Lay down your burdens and entrust them to the God who's not only powerful enough to handle them, but also cares for you and seeks what's best for you. What helps you find rest with God? How do you stop what you're doing and remind yourself that life is more than work? Leave a comment to share how God helps you rest. That's all for this time. Today's video has helped you get out of neutral. Leave a comment, share it with your friends, and subscribe to join us on the journey.